A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC. Breaking news, WABC.
And joining us now with some big breaking news is John Solomon, the founder of Just the News. John, you had a bombshell related to January 6th. Explain.
Yeah, listen, a couple of weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi, we saw that tape suddenly emerge 3 years later in which she's yelling at her chief of staff saying, we have responsibility. I take responsibility for the security failures of January 6th. And people say, well, what was that about? I think we can answer that question for folks tonight. Over the weekend, we obtained documents that Congress obtained recently that show that Nancy Pelosi's top two security officials, the sergeant-at-arms and the deputy sergeant-at-arms, got a warning the night before January 6th. On the night of January 5th, they were told there was a possible plot to breach the Capitol through the tunnel system the next morning. Right after those two officials get it, they schedule a briefing with the very woman that Nancy Pelosi is yelling at in that car in that video, Terry McCullough, her chief of staff. We don't know what happened in that briefing, but we know the top two security officials knew that this was a high priority for Capitol Police, an urgent warning coming in. It's the first time that we've learned anything that showed that Nancy Pelosi had some forewarning of specifically what might happen on January 6th. Remember, she and her staff in the Capitol Police turned down the National Guard a few days earlier. January 5th, the night of when this warning came in, doesn't appear to be any discussion about reconsidering whether we should go get the National Guard. That's a very big part of these documents. One other little point. Nancy Pelosi has spent the last few years saying, we never had anything to do with security. We actually show instances where her staff were editing the security plans for Capitol Police. They were involved in dealing with the specific security plan that failed on January 6th.
So her chief of staff the night before got the phone call. Is that is that in the yes?
Yeah, the sergeant-at-arms gets it, and then they schedule a meeting or a call the next morning to brief the chief of staff. Now, we don't know what the chief of staff is told, but it's pretty clear by scheduling the meeting right after they get the warning, they wanted to let the chief of staff know this. But remember,
has Congress ever called the sergeant of arms to testify?
He did. Made no mention of this. This was not mentioned in testimony. It wasn't mentioned in any of the reports that have been done. There's a Senate report, the Democrat January 6th report, an Inspector General report for the Capitol. None of them mentioned these communications. They were only recently obtained by Congress.
Does Congress, you think that Congress should interview him now?
Yes, I just talked to Chairman Loudermilk a few minutes ago. Not only does he want to interview Paul Irving again, he wants to also interview the Chief of Staff, Terry McCullough, who is the recipient of this, assume the recipient of this information. Big development today from Chairman Loudermilk. Just a few minutes ago, he told me that.
Wow. And what about Nancy Pelosi? Has she ever testified? I don't think she has, right? Why not?
She testified on the video that her daughter submitted. She said that if this was wrong, if they would have told me, I would have done something about it.
Right. It's on the video, but it's not under oath. That's just the video obtained by the daughter.
Well, to me, that's her voice. Yeah, that's her.
I agree, yeah. John, but has she done it officially?
Case closed. Yeah. What do you think, John?
Yeah, she hasn't done it officially.
She hasn't. And remember, during the Democrat January 6th committee, they tried to call members of Congress, and I guess there's a general understanding they can't compel someone not to cooperate if they don't want to in Congress, sort of the club that it is. So Pelosi may never be compelled. Maybe she'll volunteer. But I think John's right. The most spontaneous statement she made is in the car with her daughter filming, and she says, we have responsibility. I take responsibility for not having them prepare for more.
So either she was told and didn't do anything about it. She took responsibility. She said it in her own video that it happened. And all these people still went to jail.
Yeah. And we still have very little accountability for the security failures that occurred that day, which are now more voluminous than we ever knew.
Wow. John Solomon, these are bombshells. Please keep us posted. This is enormous stuff. And boy, we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to get her under oath. Thanks so much, John, very much.
Thank you, guys.
Rita, that's a great interview. Let's replay again for the people who never heard it, that what Nancy Pelosi said on videotape to her daughter that was filming it and to her chief of staff in the car. Let's replay that.
Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they have. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Wow.
Yeah, I take responsibility. And now with what we just heard from John.
That's what we call in the business. That's an
Right.
admission. That's what we call in the legal business an admission.
And this was her chief of staff. What we're hearing now from Solomon is the chief of staff got info,
that
too.
The staff got the info, never told her.
Well, you would find that hard to believe.
To
right.
me, she sounded honest
If you give her the benefit, John, if you give her the benefit of the doubt,
I'll give her the benefit.
Give her the benefit of the doubt. So failed to do what they were supposed to do, which is tell the principal.
Yeah,
which is the speaker.
Well, then the chief of staff. How come we haven't heard from him or her?